thinner. And Samson Cherargei, we were coming to you on this conversation of having the president as a one-term president.
Yes.
And you're saying that these parties tend to be regional, but we do know that they start from that area and then they form a coalition.
No, I don't think so. Even when you look, as a country, we need to move away from tribal politics. And you have had the president has been arguing so much about having a national political party that has national ideals. Most of these political parties are political parties that do not have value. And my brother, Senior, has asked why second term for President William Ruto, because as I was driving through Ngong Road, I want Willis to go and stop the young men who are crossing to go and work on Talanta Hela City Stadium, the Talanta Hela Stadium that is being built, to go and tell them this government is not working, and yet they are just working to build Talanta Hela. I was over the weekend in my own Kapsabet town, where over 200 units of affordable housing program, which is happening across the country, is almost complete, is 90%. You should go there and tell them this government is not working. If he comes back with the face he looks like, it will look like he had been run over by a railway. He should go back and tell my people at Chepsonoi Market, which is almost 80%, and Kobucha and Kaiboi, and across the country, including Park Road here, the affordable housing program, and tell those young men that the government is not working. The reason William Ruto will get the second term is because he has a track record. He's talking about TSC. This is the only government that has hired 70,000 teachers since independence. 46,000 were just confirmed. Katezi and Mark Nyamita is international. 46,000 teachers, even they are watching now under JSS program, were confirmed under pensionable, permanent and pensionable terms. Some, even the stability of the currency, the public debt we are in, is President William Ruto is trying to undo the mess that we are talking about. When you look even at Mau Mau roads and other infrastructure, I think where Mheshimiwa Mark comes from, they are the first time that even in national appointments, this is the first time that we're having a national treasury, National Treasury Minister John Badi, the region that they have never had, even CDF, even the chairman of finance. So this government has promoted equitable access to opportunities. There are many presidents who have been in power, but they have never gotten a chance to be the Minister of Finance or even to be the Chief of Defense Forces and many other senior positions that this region is getting from. So the face of Kenya, in fact, President William Ruto, since 1960, is the only president that has really tried to have a national face value or the national face of Kenya in terms of all leadership, including parliament and across the country. Let me, in fact, the second term is sure because under SHA, every day 70,000 Kenyans are registered under SHA.
You say
we are closing.
Sure. You say it's a sure shot.
It's a sure bet.
Yeah.
Like a cock sure, not hen sure, like a cock sure.
How?
That is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Look,
your side of the divide has been accused of making that chest thumping statement.
No, we are not just thumping. He is asking how can second term be sure without doing what the president was elected. And I'm saying our manifesto, these are the things that we had promised Kenyans. And one of them is the universal health coverage, like social health insurance. Over 22 million Kenyans have now registered under SHA. The same people who are telling Kenyans SHA is not working, Kenyans have realized that it is only the confidence of the fools that these guys did not allow us to register. They are now registering 70,000 per day. And SHA is working. They have changed the narrative from SHA is not working to say it's working in other areas, but it's not working. And that is why I agree there could be challenges of human resources like universal health coverage. And we have agreed that the National Assembly should at least, and Senate, we are already under Division of Revenue, to ring-fence around 2 billion as conditional grants to ensure that universal health coverage staff are confirmed under PNP. On the issue of CBC, the CBC, the people like Matiang'i and Uhuru Kenyatta left in a mess. Now the president is trying to fix. You remember, was it grade 7, 8, and 9? They were supposed to go to junior secondary school to be translated. We are now building over 15,000 classrooms, courtesy of NGCDF and across even in this city where the primary schools in this city have been given 1 billion to implement the CBE, which was a big challenge. I agree the university funding model has a problem. But the solution, the problem that the university higher education is a cancer that we are trying to fix. And when the university funding model was supposed to be brought, the same people rushed to court to block it.
Okay.
And in fact, that is why even we were saying, allow us to fix the universal, not university funding model for the benefit of Kenyans. These are the same people, when a government comes to the program, they rush to court, and the government must obey some of these court orders because it is their right to challenge. And finally, because he was asking why President William Ruto's, second term is a sure bet. Even markets. Now, Mama Mboga and the business people will have a place of dignified that they can do their businesses.
Okay.
Even in areas, even for now, even in Mark Nyamita's constituency, they now have an ultra-modern market that cannot be constructed by counties. But President William Ruto is supplementing on the position. Finally, on the issue of sugar leasing.
Yeah.
I want to say, because Nandi, the area of Chemase, even Masop and Chemelil, as he has said, I agree that there could be some concerns. But the same sugar companies have, in fact, when they say they are firing 5,000 people, they were dysfunctional. You walk to Chemelil. Many people were never accessing. Even my farmers could not deliver, came to Chemelil because Chemelil was dysfunctional. Go to Nzoia. Go to many of these state-owned, even Mumias. Trevor, they were not functional. So when people say people are losing jobs or they are losing money, yet the public debt at the President William Ruto's government. In fact, when President William Ruto removed the debt over 100 billion, you realize the UN cry across the country that why was President William Ruto clearing Western and Nyanza public debts, yet they never voted for him. So we are telling farmers it is better to lease out these sugar factories because one, they will get bonus like tea, the way the Mumias did the other day. And number two, it is better to get 20 shillings in a day with a promise of 1,000 when these guys have never given alternative. So on the issue of leasing, by the way, farmers should know this. The sugar state-owned factories or even the nuclears, they are not being sold, they are being leased. And that should be the conversation that we have.
Clear with that, Willis, what is your concern with the leasing of the sugar mills?
Let me respond to these legacy politicians. You know, they are very interesting. When we say...
You think back and these
are legacy politicians, we are used to their talk. But the most important thing about the sugar factory leasing, they are claiming here that the debts were retired. Just do as the Business Daily yesterday. Put here, Sony Sugar farmers are up in arms over pending 319 million owed to them. I'm a sugar farmer. I supply to Chemelil, Moroni, and Kibos. And I can tell you I'm owed more than 5 million from those companies. Leave Kibos alone. Let's now speak to Chemelil land. So if they are claiming that they've settled the farmers' debts, I will be a rich man today. I'm not. Some of my debts are falling back over 5 years ago, not been paid. But the legacy politicians don't want to discuss the key issue that I'm talking about. The issue I'm talking about is the manner in which you've leased out this asset. When you give somebody a 30-year lease, the person is almost 60-something, 68, 70. He's bought it for his life. And where is the interest of the farmer? Why didn't you come up with a model? And he asked us about solutions. Why didn't you come up with a model in which you say the farmers who are the owners of the local nucleus also have a buy-in, have some level of ownership? Do, for example, a rights issue. Say the strategic investor takes 30%, the farmers take 30%, the government takes 30%, and the rest you open up to the rest of the country so that we all get ownership. Sugar is a product that is consumed every morning in every Kenyan household. Why give it to an individual and not come up with a model that incorporates even the farmers, those who've sacrificed for this? The second thing I want to say, you know, when I listen to Cherargei speak, he keeps talking about that we've given your son CS Treasury, we've given your son CG First CDF. Please, you've not given anybody's son those positions. Yesterday, in Adiedo Secondary School, there was a poor grandmother. Adiedo is just next to Mbadi's home. It's in Homa Bay, but Mbadi's home is in Migori, in the same Homa Bay, where Mbadi comes from the CS Treasury. That grandmother was sitting in Adiedo Mixed Secondary School trying to sell 5 chicken to offer to the principal as school fees for her children. So what is the benefit of that, what you claim to be CS Treasury is given to Jaluo, and yet the common man on the street, the common Jaluo on the street, is struggling to even pay school fees to feed herself. She had to carry 5 live chicken to school as school fees. And here they are telling you, now Jaluos should celebrate, we are now in government. When Mark Nyamita, legacy politician, talks about that this is the first time that Luos are being given positions in government, this is the first time that you have roads. No, please, let me say this.
He spoke about roads in his area.
Roads in his area. I'm coming to that. He talks about roads in his area. Let's go to Oruba in Migori, where he comes from. Go to Rapogi, the roads he's talking about. Which are these roads that are being done, that have never been done before? When were Luos never in government? And this gaslighting by legacy politicians, we must stop it. There is no time that you can tell me that Luos have never been in government. The government belongs to all Kenyans. And it is political administrations that come up with policies. And William Ruto's policies have failed the people of Kenya. Just like it has failed the people of Nandi, it has failed the people of Lunyanza, it has failed the people of Nairobi, it has failed the people of Central. It has failed Kenyans. But legacy politicians will prefer that you discuss our governance based on tribal lenses. That we must reject. They talk about that, William Ruto is okay to go and launch a transformer. You see, legacy politics. They want you to reduce a discussion on energy as purely a light bulb. When you are discussing energy and intervention in the energy sector, you should be talking about what is the number of megawatts we are producing per year as a country. What is the surplus? Because energy is a factor of production. We need to be producing energy that we can use to drive manufacturing, industry. Today, as we sit here, we are producing 3,000 megawatts. Our consumption is around 2,800 megawatts. There is no surplus. So anybody who, for example, wanted to put up a plant and machinery that requires 500 megawatts, and interrupted supply, they can't come to Kenya. Why? Because when they look at your grid, they are saying you have no surplus. I'm not going to risk my investment in this country because I will be competing with the rest of the country and I'll not get. But legacy politicians want you to say, discuss energy based on a light bulb, not based on production. As I conclude, let me say this. When we say, and Cherargei talks very well, that we have put 200 housing units in Nandi, so the Nandi people should clap for him. The population of Nandi County is 885,711. A legacy politician wants you to celebrate and clap for 200 housing units that cost 2 billion Kenya shillings. I mean, let's be serious. What is the impact of having 200 housing units in Nandi County against a population of 885,711? My response will be, what you should be focusing on is how do you empower the people of Nandi to be able to access credit facilities that they can put up decent and dignified housings for themselves. And one thing that stops many Kenyans from accessing capital is because their government is illegally in the market, borrowing from the domestic market at high interest rates, and it blocks the people of Nandi from acquiring or accessing mortgage facilities, because when they go there, they are told their mortgage is 20%. Mm-hmm. They can't afford it. And they are borrowing to go and put up 200 units in Nandi. That is negligible. It is nonsense. It's a mockery to the people of Nandi who are 885,711, and they only put up 200.
Okay, Ondiek, you also respond to this, and I keep asking everyone who shifts allegiances in this show that at what point was the Damascus moment? Because when I last spoke to you, you were the UDA coordinator, Homa Bay. Now you're the chairman, Progress Plus Alliance, and you say UDA has failed. At what point did you realize this?
Trevor, I will answer you, and my timekeeper, secret timekeeper, is telling me you give too much time to the defenders of a failed state instead of giving equal time so that Kenyans can listen well. Because I can tell you, you have given too much time to Cherargei to just say nothing. Because the truth he knows, that Kenyans are complaining, and even the young people he could, who are delaying him.
State looks like.
No, let him finish.
We should invite him.
Whenever you say anything that likes me, I keep quiet. I expect you to have that decorum, and I don't need to teach you about that on a national television. What I'm telling you, Trevor, is that I respect Mheshimiwa Nyamita for one thing. He has accepted the simple fact that we have had a long era of bad politics. We have had a long era of bad politics, and that answers my question. or your question as to why I shifted allegiance, I want to take you back, and Mheshimiwa Nyamita will confirm this, that when I got tired of the bad politics he's talking about, I tried to team up with Governor Okoth Obado so that we come up with PDP as a political party, so that we can open up the region where that bad politics has been thriving. What happened is that the mastermind and the choir master of that particular bad politics ensured that PDP was not registered when it ended up not even fielding a candidate. Not allegation, it's a fact. Number two, when I remained partyless, I'm answering the question, and it's for the national consumption. When we joined the government, Mheshimiwa Nyamita, together with Jalango, Professor Jenda, Elisha Kuba, and the other members of parliament, decided to go and change the state of politics in our country. They went and sat with the president at his election. And they said that they are going to plan development. Today I see Gladys Wanga, for example, listing so many things being done in Homa Bay and claims that she lobbied them, when she knows that those things were done by Nyamita and his friends when they were still having sufurias on their heads. So that is the kind of politics we have had. So I chose to work with Nyamita and Dr. Raymond Omolo and the rest so that we could democratize Nyanza. UDA could come in. And when the master of political thuggery realized that UDA was having onslaught in Nyanza, he jumped into the Gen Z's movement and hijacked the president. Today, as we speak, Raila Odinga has hijacked President William Ruto. And that is what William Ruto thinks. Through people like Cherargei, that he is going to win a second term simply because he's together with Raila Odinga. I'm telling you, Raila Odinga will leave you at the right time. And I'm telling you that what the second term you are talking about, unless you kill people at Bomas, is when you are going to get that second term. That's said and done. I want to tell you, Trevor, that when we talk about the debts, so that answers you why I have left UDA, because when Raila and his friends have hijacked the president, it means the democratization of Nyanza, which I was working for, cannot succeed with him, because you have even seen Gladys Wanga and the rest declaring Nyanza region ODM region. So, meaning that those who want to democratize Nyanza like myself cannot have any space inside their arrangement, which is now UDA ODM. Now I have to find a vehicle that can democratize. My ambition is one. Nyanza must be free from the monarchical leadership of the political bad-mannered person who has ensured that we are not in government. He doesn't want to get into government.
Name the person.
And we also don't get into government. Unless you are a toddler, then you must ask for an answer to the person I'm talking about. I believe you're not. One thing I want to add, as you allow me to conclude on that my matter. The lease, as I talked about, when they talked about offloading the debts, that was a calculated move so that they offload those debts, so that when they come in to take through their proxies, of the proxies called Raju and Bire, they wanted free environment. But what is at risk in those leases, which I want Cherargei to know, that land issue is the biggest thing, and we know the land baron in this country, who has realized that the other lands are already taken by other people and he cannot grab them. They are now looking for the nucleus of these sugar companies. They want the 22,000 acres of land in Muhoroni and Chemelil. They want the 2,400 acres of land in Soni. They want those lands, because we know the biggest land grabber in this country. And I also don't need to be asked a name for that. So, he's very sure. He doesn't need to ask me for that name. The simple truth is this. When you talk about a second term being assured, I want to remind all Kenyans that we are in a Republican democratic system where you get opportunity to serve within a period of time, within the satisfaction of the people, subject of which they will go to the vote. If you don't interfere with the voting of this country, Kenyans will vote anyone. They will not even vote the Gachagwas. They will not even vote William Ruto. They will vote an individual. And I'm telling you, don't be worried about who is going to remove President William Ruto. President William Ruto is not going to be removed by a political balkanization. He's not going to be removed by a political group. He's going to be removed by a visionary, reignited Kenyans who still believe in the aspiration of Kenya. Aspiration of Kenya is this: have a country where each and everyone is having his dignity as provided in Article 28, and that each Kenyan can feel that they are members of this country and not settlers. It is so sad, Trevor, that this is the country where a family owns a whole county, yet we talk about squatters. How do you talk about squatters when one family of persons who are also staying abroad are controlling a half of Eldoret town, Banacharalge.
Okay.
There's a family holding a half of Eldoret town, and you go to Eldoret and you find them still being taken to court because they are settlers. The Makto family, do you want me to name people? Okay. Let me tell you. The Makto family is holding a half of Eldoret.
Okay.
The Biwot family is holding a half of Eldoret, and the other you are telling me here that there are some squatters next to Eldoret town. And you are here as senator of that region, and those people are squatters in their own country, where one family of people who are staying abroad don't even know the land titles of those regions.
All right.
And they are still there.
Yeah.
I want to conclude,
Yes.
my brother. It pains sometimes when you see a person at the level who is supposed to be a legislator, who is supposed to fight for Kenyans, who is supposed to talk for Kenyans, who after they have even ended up within only 2 years in a government which has failed terribly to have 3 or 4 reshuffles, and you still come on television to confirm that you will still go back. You want to go back, you are almost doing another reshuffle, because even the people you took in, some have confirmed, like ICT department is being headed by somebody who doesn't even know how to eat and X operates. It's very sad in this country when we have young people with sharp brains who can do that thing.
Okay.
It is not just about being on the chair. It's about ensuring that that chair on which you sit makes better the life of Kenyans.
All right.
That's all.
Nyamita, you raised the issue of leasing, and you've heard what the issue that Willis has with the leasing of the sugar mills. The issue is the process. It's not so much what the people who've been leased to will do. It's how the process was done. Are you comfortable with the process coming from a region that has a sugar mill?
Trevor, let me, and allow me to give Willis a name on this show as a legacy activist.
Because he called you a legacy politician.
He called me a legacy politician. He's a legacy activist.
Yeah.
And he's trying to pump a lot of half-truths to Kenyans. 319 million that he's referring to, that is in the papers today for Sony Sugar, is not part of the debt that the government paid.
Correct.
This is actually debt that has actually been accrued after the debts were cleared.
Correct.
And a new management was put in place over the last 2 years. Willis would be lying, and I can confirm, it is on record, that every single person who was owed money by the state-owned sugar farms were actually paid.
But
If he is owed, no. You see here, when you can say things that we cannot verify, I can tell you that. Because I personally, as someone coming from the sugar belt, I followed that. In fact, the first time they paid about 97% of that total debt, there was a small amount that was there. It was provided for in the budget. And we are talking about if, for whatever reason, maybe is owed, is maybe for other reasons. But I can tell you, farmers who had debts at the time that this government came into office were actually completely, it was cleared 100%. That was actually, and it was brought to Parliament. It was about almost 112, 113 billion, which was actually paid. So when he says that, the 319 million, just to correct him, the 319 million we are talking about is debt that has actually been accrued post the clearance of that previous debt.
Correct.
Now, why we are getting to 319 million is what led us to the 112 billion, whereby farmers deliver their cane, it is actually turned into sugar, the sugar is sold, employees possibly are not paid on time, farmers are equally not paid. If left unchecked, the truth is, in 2 years, you're talking about 319 million. If left unchecked and it goes on like that, in another 5 years, we'll be having another 5 billion. That is actually still again owed to farmers. And that's a cycle that we need to break. The only way is successful governments have never involved themselves in business. So privatization is normally the best way. Yeah, and I agree, the direction is talking about. Maybe we might consider doing a rights issue. We should have considered maybe a rights issue so that people can actually buy. We have seen successful enterprises like Safaricom that were privatized that way, and they're doing pretty well. Government still has a stake. The private sector also has something to play. For now, what we have said, the leasing, in fact, as people from the sugar belt, especially, for example, from Sony, we want to have a sitting with the management. And there are a couple of things we're going to talk about. Leasing should be for the factory, not for the nucleus. You are not going to lease the land. Leasing is actually for the management of the factory and not for the... These are the things that we want to put on the table. Number two, we are going to talk to them to ensure that, one, there's timely payment of farmers. That if a farmer has harvested and the cane is actually been delivered, if you delay to pay them within a certain time frame, then it accrues a certain interest. That is what it is. Number 3, we are going to talk about issues of minimum guaranteed payments. That what is actually the minimum guaranteed payment? How are you going to supply inputs? How do we ensure that the private sector does not collude so that they take advantage of the farmer? And I think that's a possibility, that's the opportunity that we actually have now.
Okay.
So we're talking about, so when you're talking about that people are losing jobs, people are going to lose jobs, let me tell you, when the government was coming to settle debts, people had not been paid for 5 years. So which job were they having? You understand? So we will also discuss with them and say, okay, fine, for the jobs that have actually been created and that are working, please do not try to cut down and make people jobless. And those are the discussions we have. And they have not yet taken over. We have a 1 year, 6 year, we have a 1 year period, which is a transition, for us to tighten the nuts and bolts of the issues of this leasing, so that we're going to pick the concerns of our people and also the lessees who have actually been given this chance, whatever. So instead of going to the street, and that's what we have chosen, instead of going to the street and starting to shout, we will sit down with them. If they disagree to the minimum things that we're actually going to agree on, then now we are going to stop actually that. But let me get into other things that my good friend Willie spoke about. When he says that, there is an old mother, this is trying to raise emotions. There is an old mother. And actually, I saw that story.
It is true, though.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I saw the lady, and
the balance
it happened. 254,000.
Yes.
And he went with 5 chicken, which possibly cannot even get to 5,000 shillings to try and pay. And then he says, that lady is coming next to Mbadi's home. Now, let me tell you, even from President Ruto's home in Sugoi, there are people still struggling with school fees. And that's the face of Kenya. Because when you are holding a position, it is not that because I am a member of parliament, for example, even where I come from, next to my home, there are people who still don't have power. Okay? It is my wrong to ensure that I create a proper environment so that that power can actually be taken to that. So you cannot blame Mbadi for the lady who went to sell 5 chicken just because it's been given. But why is Mbadi's position critical for us? Is because for once, a person from our region is sitting at the table where the decision making is taking place.
Correct.
He is where the national cake is actually being divided. We have never been there. We have never even maybe known what was actually being divided in that particular table.
Correct.
And by his mere presence in that particular table, he is able to say, okay, fine, let us equitably distribute the national cake across the country. But while doing it, let me also ensure where I'm also coming from, because charity begins at home. And we have seen it. I am saying we are seeing 18 roads that are actually being done. He asked me that I come from Rapogi. Rapogi is my village. Let me tell Willis, the road from Rapogi to Awendo is actually listed as one of the roads that is actually going to be done.
Correct.
There is another road also coming from Rapogi going to Penyowacho to Thimlich. Also, they are going to allocate, and the president spoke to that. In that very Rapogi, there is a road past Rapogi in Ayego, and the president spoke to it when he came. From Ayego all the way to Thimlich is going, just because he mentioned the issue of Rapogi where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
He also did mention that, we're reducing the discussion about energy to a bulb. That is not true.
Correct.
Gogo, which is in my constituency, which is producing 2 megawatts, in the first ever visit of the president to my region, the president, in fact, the first cabinet sitting that ever happened from independence, which happened in Kisumu, in that cabinet sitting, they approved the upgrade of the Gogo power plant from 2 megawatts to 8 to 10 megawatts in my constituency during the first presidential visit. And it's a request that we did put. As we speak, that last year in December, we already gave out title deeds we already compensated the people who gave up their land. In September this year, Mr. Willis, that particular project is actually, it's a 5 billion project to ensure that we increase our power from 2 megawatts to 8 megawatts. We are going to have adequate power for industrial growth. Therefore, we are going to make the place ready.
Okay.
So when we're not talking about just micro things.
Yeah.
But let me say a few things. It is also wrong, because we need to correct these things, that the money that is actually being used to build affordable housing is not a loan from our local banks.
Correct.
That is the truth.
Correct.
It is funding from the housing levy that is actually being used.
Yeah.
And I agree, 200 houses is not adequate for the people of Nandi who are about 800. But the journey
Yes.
of 1,000 miles begins with a step. In Uriri, for example, we are a population of close to about 300,000 plus people. We are looking forward to an affordable housing project that is going to begin. But it is only going to begin with about, say, 400 to 500 units. That's where we start. Next year, maybe we do 1,000, subject to availability of land. And it goes on like that, because Rome was not built in a day. But what am I actually saying in summary? When you say that legacy politicians who have, and for the record, Ondiek, my going to meet the president was to discuss the issues of development in my area, is not to democratize. I'm an ODM member of parliament, even as a speaker. Yeah, I was attacked, which is normal in politics. But let me say this.
Yeah.
When we have had very fierce competition in this country, where people sit on this side, we get back to our backyards,
Correct.
weaponize our people against a certain people. This, so that when I meet Cherargei here or when I meet Wanjiku elsewhere, we cannot even say hi. Correct. Because we have weaponized our region.
Correct.
This particular government, if for anything, forget about even development of the issues they're doing, by trying to bring people together to sit on a table, by trying to bring that, members of different communities can actually sit, because that's actually where politicians have actually used. Look at the opposition you're talking about. Gachagua continues to speak for his region. He's saying, I was kicked out because I didn't have my people. I was kicked out because I didn't have my party. I was kicked out. Why? He's talking about his people. Because he's saying that they're not on the table. But what he's not also telling those people, that in the current cabinet, 7 of them,
8
are coming from one region. Many, I think they have the largest cake, and they have a bigger population as well. But he's saying, he's actually rallying people. In fact, I sympathize with the people who are in that movement.
Yeah.
Because the only agenda is the anger of Gashagua's removal from office. There is nothing else. Okay. That is the only thing that is fighting for. So what we are saying, to end bad politics, so that we can bring equity, let us all find a place whereby everyone can be on the table.
Okay.
And as we speak, when you look at the political landscape, and we are waiting for another landscape to also be established so that we can be able to compare. As you look at the political landscape as we speak, that is now only in this broad-based government. Not to say that they are perfect.
Yeah.
There are issues, and the young people, including young people in my house, tell me that, Dad, there are a few things that are not working. It is incumbent upon us to try and resolve some of those issues that are not there.
And now coming up next is Cooking Tips. Bye for now.